Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Kratom Kingdom Vlog. Today is going to be a personal video because for about 2 years I've been on this channel and I wanted to explain who am I and who am I to talk about Kratom. What makes me such a Kratom expert. So anyway, I am a 52-year-old who has lived a very difficult life. Started out poor, and ended up marrying into wealth, and I went to university while at the same time being in a full-time band that would tour all over the country and Europe, and we put out CDs, and that was obviously in the 90s when CDs were popular. And then at 33, after my wife made me choose her or the band, so I made a mistake and chose her, and ended up leaving the band. So the band tried to find another bass player that was as good as me, and they couldn't. They found one that looked good, and the band eventually crumbled, which was no big surprise because me being the oldest guy in the band, I kind of kept everything under control and made sure that everything was set up on time and that we would show up at the shows on time and how we would get there, the transportation, and talking to all the booking agents and just all the grunt work. And of course the new bass player was just a fan of the band who happened to own a bass probably and had long black hair and looked the part. Well, I didn't really look the part because I was a skate punk when I was in high school and got into the straight edge hardcore scene, which meant I didn't do drugs, didn't do alcohol, didn't do anything except for get tattoos and skateboard and play bass in multiple hardcore straight edge bands. At 33, after quitting the band, I was working full-time as a middle school computer teacher and going to school full-time in Asheville, North Carolina, where my wife decided we were going to move because from Gainesville, which was where all my friends, my band was, my life was there in Gainesville where I went to university. And so while working that job and teaching part-time as teaching, because I had a master's degree, I was working on my PhD in psychology, and because I already had the master's in psychology and another master's in education, so I was working as a part-time professor teaching like Psych 101 classes to undergrads and stuff like that, which was fun. Looking like me with full of tattoos, black t-shirts, and aging musician kind of made me a little more interesting than some of the other professors who were just old men that taught the curriculum. And so not doing all that, working full-time as a teacher, going to school full-time, and teaching college classes part-time, I eventually exploded and had a stroke at 33 years old, which completely crippled my left side. I mean, you've seen in some videos where I walk around and I've got to give the arm, and I limp really bad, and sometimes when I'm really tired my face will droop, and it caused me to lose all my jobs. My wife got sick of it, because she had to be the caretaker, where I was making all the money before working 2 jobs. She had to get a real job because my disability payments weren't going to pay for the lifestyle that I was providing for us before. And she got sick of it, taking me to multiple doctors all the time, caring for a disabled person. So she met a really healthy old man who had a lot of money. He was an engineer, or is an engineer, and she moved him. I was in the mental hospital one week because I was trying to kill myself from suffering from massive depression and anxiety. And so they locked me into a mental hospital. While I was in there, she moved her boyfriend into the master bedroom, put all of his clothes in my closet, and as we were going home, she was like, by the way, you're living in the guest room now, so take your clothes. We took your clothes out of the closet. What do you mean we? And she was like, me and my friend. She tried to say he was a new roommate who it was just messed up. So he was living in my house, sleeping in my bed, using my closet, my bathroom from the master bedroom, in a house that I previously had purchased, and it was all in my name. And she made me sign all this paperwork with me and my mental state, not knowing what was going on. My depression became even worse, just getting out of a mental hospital for a month, and she's already moved a boyfriend in. And so anyway, I'm still 100% disabled, and she said, you have to leave. I woke up one morning on Sunday, and she said, you have to leave today, in an hour. And I was like, why? And she's like, because I'm divorcing you. And she's like, you're going to Knoxville to live with your parents. They're going to take care of you for now, because I'm tired of taking care of you, and you're a psychopath, and I'm tired of your chronic depression. So when I ended up moving in with my parents, and I got another teaching job in Asheville, so I went back to Asheville and continued going to school for my PhD, which I never got because, after I had the stroke, it was just too much. Yes, I'm drinking a Red Bull today because I'm running low on lemon juice. So I can only have a couple of cups of Kratom today, which is okay, because I've started to mellow out on it, because I was honestly drinking it 24/7. I moved into this house in just north of Asheville. It was a commune kind of place where this woman had inherited this beautiful cabin in the mountains with a waterfall in the backyard, and she had a bunch of new age people living in all the different rooms in the house. And I lived in the garage, living in a garage room which was about the size of my bed, so I could fit my bed and my desk in there, and paid rent. I could afford the rent with my disability payments. And one of the people that lived there happened to be a healer who was into Kratom, and he is the one that got me into it. And he would charge me $75 for a little bit of Kratom every month when I would get paid. And I got hooked on it because it made me forget everything. It just kind of numbed me. It was really good Kratom. Well, better than the Kratom that I later found from when I moved out of that house, because I went back to Knoxville because it wasn't healthy for me living there. It was a lot of different drugs, and it's just stuff that wasn't good for me as in my current mental state. And I wasn't taking my medications correctly, so I would just substitute everything with Kratom, and ended up becoming a huge Kratom fan because of how it made me feel and how I could cope with life. And then it became I couldn't cope with life without Kratom, but I was spending hundreds of dollars a month on Kratom, buying it from different vendors online. And I used crack and Kratom, which was pretty good, and just all these different Kratom companies online, which I've mentioned in the past. And then I finally found Uju in Indonesia, who is a Kratom farmer, who we connected on Facebook when he found my Kratom Kingdom channel on YouTube. And for $200 he would sell me like a pound, or 4 pounds of Kratom, or 4 kilograms of Kratom, I'm sorry, which kind of comes out to about 4 pounds of every different strain, like 4 different strains, and they were all amazing. They were right off the tree. And so I've been pushing him out all the time, Uju Owen. And I'll put his information in the description of the video when I write it, and how to contact him if you're interested in his Kratom. And he's actually looking for a vendor, to work with, someone who's going to buy a lot, because he produces a lot of Kratom, and he doesn't like to store it for a long period of time, because Kratom loses its efficacy when it sits in a warehouse on a farm for too long, which, because Kratom is not the most popular thing in the world, there's very few vendors who buy good Kratom. They'll try to get the cheapest ones, which is usually Kratom that's been sitting in a warehouse forever, and that's why they get it at a really discounted rate, ripping off the farmers, not paying, paying for what they're getting, 3 or 4 year old Kratom that's been sitting in a box in the farm or in the barn for 4 or 5 years, and so that kratom has lost its efficacy, and so the cheap gas station kratom that I would buy, $8 an ounce or something like that, and the efficacy of it was terrible. So I started doing more research, what makes good kratom, which kratom makes me feel the best, which kratom takes away my pain, which kratom can I drink less of. And it turned out that Uju's kratom I could drink 2 or 3 cups a day and feel fine, where with the other kratom I was just spending a lot more money on it and getting shit kratom basically. And anyway, so I started studying and researching it, being a student, a professor, and in university, and started trying different vendors, different, Vietnamese kratom, Filipino kratom, and Indonesian kratom for me was the easiest because there's a lot of poor kratom farmers in Indonesia, and I like supporting the poor guy, the struggling farmer who gives you the really good product with shipping for a pretty good price, and a lot of different really good strains. Like right in November, I'm ordering again from him, and he's got some new strains, which he's already packaged up for me and sealed. He seals everything in airtight vacuum sealed and everything, and I put it in those little containers labeled with a label maker with what strain it is, and I'll cook, because if you use the same strain all the time, you get used to my body gets used to it. And so I would take a green one day, or a yellow, a Vietnamese the next day, Mang Da the next day, or a Thai, cup after cup after cup all day long, and stay awake all night long, not eat. I lost a ton of weight, got really constipated, because kratom, if you don't take a break from it every now and again, you will get constipated, because it's the substance of it, the powder, just gets stuck in your digestive system as it kind of clumps up at the bottom of your cup. You'll notice if you use the same cup all the time, after you finish the cup, there'll be a layer of kratom kind of stuck at the bottom, because the substance, as it goes to the bottom, it clumps together, and unless you drink a lot of water or something else. So today I need caffeine because my medication's all screwed up, so I'm not doing well, and I don't have any good kratom. I've only got some crappy kratom. And so anyway, to cut everything short, I've sort of become a kratom expert, and it's consumed my life because it makes me feel better. It's like the magical tea for me, and I prefer tea because I tried just taking powder, straight up, like in those capsules, and it would just go to my stomach and make me feel sick to my stomach. And I love drinking a tea and watching YouTube or watching TV or something, and I will spend an entire day just doing nothing else but drinking cup after cup, because I have so much of it from Uju that I would go through 4 kilos a month and spend all my extra money on it. And so I recently decided to move to Southeast Asia, where kratom actually is grown. And I chose the Philippines because, as an American living on, I can afford to live off of my disability there a lot easier than I can in America. Because I can rent a house for $100 USD a month in the Philippines and get food for $50 a month for one person. And Americans are very sought out by young Filipinas, and I happened to meet a young Filipina online who we've been talking for 5 years. I send her money sometimes because she's very poor. She works full time and makes like the equivalent of $100 USD, which she pays for her lodging, so she has no money for food basically, or her cell phone, and she's got to have that to connect with me, so we've decided that I'm going to move to the Philippines, and we're going to get married, and I'm going to start my family and my life over again at 52, and I'll still continue to make a channel living in Southeast Asia, buying Filipino Kratom, which is supposed to be some of the best. I haven't tried any of it yet because I haven't found a it's called Mangbok or Manbok in the Philippines, and it's legal there, so I can still consume it. I don't know how much it costs there, and I don't even know where to get it. There's certain islands that grow it, and in certain provinces in the Philippines, and I'll find all that stuff out. So anyway, y'all, that's a little bit about me, and I'm going to cut it here so the video's not too long and ridiculous. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment, and I will do my best to answer them. And because of everyone's concerns, I did really think about it, and I am using way too much sugar. So I've cut my sugar back down to 1 tablespoon for that huge white cup, and a teaspoon of Kratom, basically. So a tablespoon of sugar, a teaspoon of Kratom, and rotate through the strains every other cup, and cut back on a little bit so I'm not just high all the time, because good Kratom will make you feel numb. It's almost like an opiate, and me having been straight edge for so long, it really affected me strong, because my body was so clean of drugs. I did none for 20 years, and nothing at all, no alcohol, no prescription medications, nothing, and was healthy and happy and athletic, which was so weird that I had a stroke. And going into the hospital all tattooed and looking like I did, even though I was straight edge and had straight edge tattoos all over my body. Of course, nobody in Asheville, North Carolina, is going to know what straight edge means. So they accused me of, the only way this young healthy guy who had a stroke, an old person's disease because of high blood pressure or smoking or persistent drug use, what drugs are you on? What drugs did you take that gave you a stroke? I was like, so they didn't treat me correctly, and they didn't have an MRI on Sunday, so they gave me a crappy CT, didn't see the blood clot. So all night long, my blood's being starved in my brain, on the right side of my brain, and I'm killing it, just killing a huge piece of it, so I've got a huge 4-centimeter hole in the right side of my brain, which paralyzes the left side of my body. And living where I'm living now, still depressed, still anxious, and Kratom helps me to get through with that. It takes away a lot of my depression and anxiety, and also takes away a lot of my stress. Sometimes it causes me stress because it's a pretty big investment I've got to make for a couple of months of it at a time, so I'm not going crazy with it anymore, spending $200 a month. I spend about $200 every 2 or 3 months now, which is not too bad, and I can handle that, while still saving to have enough of a savings account to move to the Southeast Asia and get married and start a family, build a house, and all that good stuff. So anyway, I am Chris Irving, or Thomas Irving is what my real name is, but I go by Chris because it's my middle name. And that's basically who I am and how I ended up being a Kratom expert, or not expert I would say, but very proficient in Kratom, enough to where I can talk about what worked for me and what doesn't work for me, and what's the best way to take it, what's the best Kratom, where's the best places to get it from, how to get it. Alright y'all, I hope you all have a great week, and I'll see you again